What for? Yeah, we
Aquí hace falta un puente también.
And go wrestling!
Talk a little bit about science and art. How science can be an art, how art has scientific foundations. But first, before I would like to tell you a little bit about who we are. Who is CERFA? CERFA is the Society of Spanish Scientists in Germany. And we are a very broad, we cover very broad fields. Most of our members are in the life science field. We are almost 500 members in the whole Germany. Most of them life science, but we also cover chemistry, environmental science, physics, informatics, or even social and humanities, like Professor Chihaya. That's why we're here, spread over the whole Germany. And right now we are nearly 500 members. And what would we like to do, apart from just meeting each other, building a social network between us? One of the aims is that making some kind of collaborations, trying to collaborate and to make links between the research system in Spain and the research system in Germany. Okay, and for that, we're going to organize a symposium in Berlin about funding in possibilities in Germany. But I guess that for you that's not so much interesting, because you and I, at least the tribe that we the target that we want to expand is just a general audience. Today you are here just to know a little bit more about science and art. So that's also why we are also here. That's why another of the reasons of our existence. We try to extend science into society, into media, to show that science is important, and that the field of science, we like the others to do it. Because actually, science is a very important thing, and that's why we organize activities like this one to show that actually science is in much more fields than what we could think. And for instance, we have a scientific blog, thanks to Jose Gallarre and his internet portal. We are leading a scientific blog about easy scientific content in the daily life, called the Scientific Corner. We also organize, with the collaboration of the Culture Center Machado in Colón, a day to bring science to children. So we play with children and science. We let the children play with science and to discover that science can be also a very funny thing. And that's why we're here today, to talk about the relations between science and art.
My gratitude and to say thanks to the persons who made this possible and who inspired this whole event. Beginning, of course, with the consul, His Excellency Francisco de Estrada, who had always given a very helpful impulse in as far as to the spreading of Spanish culture, and who always was very supportive with the various events and symposiums we had at Wuppertal University already on the question of the history of Spain and historical memory, and also this time he was so kind as to come in person in order to give a short speech. Also, I would like to thank Dr. Denk from the Humboldt Stiftung, who is going to present his network and the funding program of this very important funding institution. As I speak of the Humboldt Stiftung, I would like to give a very warm welcome to one of the guests who has traveled farthest among us, and that is Professor José Luis Gómez Colomer, who comes from Castellón in Spain, and whose special field of study is criminology, so I didn't know how to spell it in English, and who is also the president of the Humboldt Association of Spain, which is a very active and very thriving branch of the
Spain is one of the largest in Europe, one of the largest parts of this in the whole world. So 600 research fellows, award winners of the Humboldt Foundation coming from Spain, having returned to Spain, having stayed in Germany or anywhere else. And when I looked at our numbers, our annual report from last year, I was also actually surprised to see an interesting number, an interesting increase in the applications from Spain. I mean, we have had an increase in the past 5 years of 10, 15, 20% across the board. More researchers are looking to come to Germany with various methods of support, including the Humboldt Foundation. But the largest increase in applications in the whole world has come from Spain. It were 5 years ago, it was like 60 per year applying to our research fellowship program, and now it's 120 per year in 2014. Like I said, across the board it's maybe like 10%. This is an increase by 100%. Interesting, I mean, there are certain reasons for that, and not everybody applies to the Humboldt Foundation because he or she wants to go to Germany but is looking for an opportunity wherever, considering the sparsity of jobs around Europe. But still, I think it's an interesting testimony to close relations existing between Spain and Germany in research, and I hope we all can be part of furthering that, increasing it. The Humboldt Foundation has been, of course, trying to play a little part in that. We have been established.
Dr. Gamel, Dr. Denk, Dr. Colomer as well. Distinguished guests, ladies and gentlemen. Actually, this is going to be my shortest stay in Wuppertal. It's a pity, it's a shame I have to go back to Düsseldorf because I have to fulfill my other duties this afternoon. But I did want to be here today in order to show the support of the Spanish Consulate in this endeavor. I'm so happy actually to see the two of you as institutions and as people working together that I wanted to see it by myself, and on the other hand I also wanted to convey to you the message that this is actually the role we want to carry out. Nowadays, unfortunately, because of the economic and financial crisis, we are not in a position to be very supportive in a way or with the means we wanted to be if circumstances were different. But definitely what we want to see is the enthusiasm, the knowledge, experience, the capabilities and the initiatives of the civil society carrying out what they are able to do by themselves, to realize by themselves. And in this field, It is so important and so actually wonderful, allow me to say that, to see an association of scientists here in Germany, Spanish scientists, and the University of Wuppertal, the Belgian University of Wuppertal, working together in initiatives like this. It is true that here you have topics that you have selected for today, science and art, two fields that are not always seen together, while in the end of the day they are just the two sides of human knowledge. Our human experience includes both sides, and it is always important, especially more in modern times where multidisciplinary initiatives are the order of the day, to see that everybody is participating in initiatives which invite everyone who has something to contribute to the general effort to share and to be able to build on that experience.
What do you think about it? It is a real painting, it's a picture, it's a photo. What do you think about it?
I say a photo.
A photo picture was with her. What do you think? I mean, to be a photo is quite good. Huh? And a photo of what? If it's a photo?
Planet.
A planet. Which one?
I think it's a star.
Jupiter. Exactly. It's the great red spot, of Jupiter. No? Here can you see a comparison of the size between the red spot of our neighbor Jupiter with the planet Earth. It's huge, and it's huge as well as beauty. I think it's very beautiful. And here you can see the size comparison. You know? Well, it was just an example. It's a picture, but as you can see, the definition of art can be applied at this picture as well. But if you want a real example of art, we have this other example. This is a collage. It's a mosaic of an artist. It's called Juliana Hanensen, an American artist. And if we will look closer at the giant red spot of Jupiter, we can see it's made of glass. And it's I think it's quite a cool photo. No? Let's continue and let's fix our look at our sky. Do you think it's real or it's fake? I mean, it's a real photo of our sky, or maybe it's a painting. What do you think about it? It's real, it's real. And what we here see, it's a constellation of Orion. No? It's a typical constellation of winter. You can see on winter very clear, maybe not in Germany, but sometimes we can see that. And here you can see an artistic representation of Orion. The ancient Greeks were very good doing art, and they were the first that write some kind of stories like Iliad and Odyssey that's based on mythology, like here we can see. But if we look closer here, in this region here, with our wonderful, more than 20 years old Hubble Space Telescope, we can see something like that. This is the Orion Nebula. But if we look a little bit closer at that point here, we can see some special objects. Very, very strange. Now, if we look a little bit closer, we will be able to observe this kind of objects. What do you think that this is? I'm sorry, I'm a teacher right now and I have to ask you like questions. So that's why I ask you. What do you think?
UFOs?
UFO, that seems like, yeah, this one looked really like a UFO. It could be a UFO. I have to tell you that we are the limitation of the actual resolution of the Hubble Space Telescope, that it's quite a lot. They are called protoplanetary disks, and they are located, as we have seen here, in the Orion Nebula. What's a protoplanetary disk? Well, here in the middle, in the center of each object, we can see a star that it's forming. Okay? This protoplanetary disk, as we can see here, there are small objects where in the center is a rotating disk of dust and gas that surrounds the core of a developing solar system. It may eventually develop in orbiting celestial bodies such as planets and asteroids. That means that when we are looking here, we are looking regions where planets are being formed. Okay? And maybe in some years, civilization, life, well, I'm too optimistic, but well, it's okay. Let's continue, because here we have the sharpest picture of a protoplanetary disk that we have to date. And what humans do when they want to imagine something but they don't have more resolution, but they want to represent it, what do? They just make a paint. This is an example of a protoplanetary disk. Okay? We have to use our imagination with our scientific data to put that into a paper, well, into a screen, in this case, into a computer screen. Okay? This is just one example of the concept art of a protoplanetary disk. Here is another example of that. You can see the star in the center that it's forming and surrounded by gas and dust, that it will eventually form planets in the future. Here, another example. I have to say that these pictures are made in the way that you can see all the objects inside. Eventually, actually, this region will be huge. I mean, it's not to scale, okay? It's just in order to have an idea. Well, but as we well know, when planets are formed, they can look very different. How do the other planets look like? Well, we know up to date almost 2,000 planets have been detected, not in our star around the Sun, I mean in other stars in our galaxy, and just in our neighborhood. Almost 2,000 planets. We cannot see them directly. We have seen the sharpest pictures.
With the moon, but this is the Earth as seen by the moon. This is one of the iconic pictures of the 20th century, and that was taken just several months before the landing of the man in the moon, when the whole community was excited about the Apollo missions. And this is one of the previous ones, Apollo 8, when orbiting around the moon, took the picture of the Earth coming up from the moon. And this is really a shock for the people who were used to look the opposite. This is just a mirrored image of the world. And that still remains as one of the iconic pictures of the last century. And one of the reasons that why we like images so much is that our brain recognizes images within a tenth of a second. And to recognize a noun face takes a bit more, but not much more. You also recognize the shadow of something in the forest which is going to attack you, and our brain is designed to look for patterns. And we are programmed for that. A baby looks and finds his mother, and the opposite among a lot of people. Also the ear can make that. But this is in our brain. And for example, our brain likes to connect points. If you ask people, this is a very nice thing one can do in a planetary, or we did that also in the Aula del Cel, in the class in Valencia for the children. You give them points and they unite them and they find things. That was done already in the ancient times, and you can take also this exercise and you can always draw whatever worries you. A gun, or a ship, or the moon, or a Greek god. And that was one of the first things that was done by the ancient people, was connecting these points in the sky just to remember them and to use them for navigation. This is one of the nicest books ever, which is the Atlas by Andreas Cellarius, and there is a representation of these constellations, trying to associate them with figures, and so that you can look for them, remember them, and so on. And I wanted to make the point here that the birth of science, of modern science, the change in civilization from the Middle Age to the present era of the Galilean hypothetic deductive method and all these things, comes also from visual propaganda. This is one of the first representations of the solar system in the past. In the Middle Age, with the Aristotelian physics, the sun was at the Earth was at the center of the universe, and everything was perfect spheres around that. This guy, Nicolaus Copernicus, published a book in which he claimed that the sun was in the center, and the rest of the bodies the moving bodies in the sky were moving around the sun, and that set the base of the revolution in science that came since then until now. And here you can see, virtually, a comparison of the different models of the universe. The first one, the Ptolemaic one, where the Earth is at the center and everything rotates around the Earth. And then the small changes, Tycho trying to arrange the view of the church and the view of the science, and Copernicus already putting the Earth, the sun at the center, the Earth with the moon around that, which set the new definition of the universe. This is also held by Newton, who discovered this apple that we see in the logo, the apple falling in the garden of the university. He realized then that the same physical laws that bring the apple to the ground are the ones that keep the moon around the Earth. He postulated that the same physical laws are valid through the whole universe. And then, from this Copernican propaganda, we come to the moon. Galilei used the telescope and checked and discovered that the moon is not a perfect sphere, that the sun is not perfect, it has some stains there, that there are mountains and valleys, that the spheres were not perfect. That means that the moon and the other planets were like the Earth. That means that the same physical laws, the same things run over the whole universe. And this change of paradigm, this change of thinking, is what brought the birth of modern science. Later, a lot of phenomena were happening, and then the myths of the Earth being perfect, and the sky being, the heavens being perfect, and the Earth full of sin and pain and all that, that was removed from the main, from the central view of the elites, and then we have the science as we have it now. This was also propagandistic thing that Galileo did. Galileo was very clever in selling his ideas in his books, writing them in Italian and not only in Latin, and that brought the revolution. Then I make a jump to 200 years later. This is one of the drawings by the Earl of Ross using the Leviathan telescope in Ireland, and he was looking to one of the nebula that was identified by Messier and made the drawing.
So, this is about improvisation theater. Who has ever heard of improvisation theater? Who has ever done some improvisation theater? Oh, at least a few. Great. That helps during the course of this presentation. Improvisation theater, I like this idea of having science and arts together, because improv is actually a bit of both. Clearly it's an art, so it usually happens in a theater on stage, and people don't get paid for it very well, so it's an art. But it also has scientific elements to it. Just looking at Google, Google is a company, they only do things when they have real data behind this. And they've recently set up a training program for their employees for better performance, for better judgment and leadership, and ultimately for making their employees more happy at work and in their private life. And one of the main components of this program is actually mindfulness, is this idea of being right here, right now, and being aware of it. And now Google is teaching this via meditation. There's nothing wrong with meditation, highly recommend it. But it also helps in improvisation, because you cannot help to be here and there if you're on stage not knowing what's going to happen, because this is actually sort of this definition of improv theater. You're on stage and you don't know what's going to happen. There's no script, no plan whatsoever. Maybe an example. So assume that I'm sort of playing a two-person scene and I'm entering the stage, and I think, okay, now I'm going to be a young woman just out of college, and this is my first day at work, and I'm at the bus station, and I'm excited, I don't want to be late, but this bus is not showing up. I tend to get really nervous, So that's just sort of the way I enter the stage. And then the other player joins the stage and sees me sort of being a bit nervous. And the other player might say, honey, I thought you were visiting your parents this weekend. Now, if I stay in my role, like, okay, I'm a just out of college first day at work, I'm at the bus station, I would say something like, huh? Who are you? Which is not really helping the scene, because in this case, the only way to get out of it would be we are somehow in an institution for mental diseases or something. So I have to sort of drop this idea of I'm at the bus station and do something with the stuff that sort of my co-player has given me. So obviously I just learned I have a relationship with this person. I probably haven't said the truth about what I'm going to do. So there's a little bit of tension in our relationship now, and now we can see how this scene develops further. I mean, you could also think about different ways of the other person entering the scene, like I'm again here, sort of a bit nervous, and the other person entering the scene, that Mrs. Smith. So I just learned I'm Mrs. Smith. So I'm a bit nervous. Yeah. And there says, I'm Dr. Miller. I have good news for you. Your father's gonna make it. So that would be, of course, a different scene now. And I have to then be, of course, Mrs. Smith. And obviously my father maybe have just had an accident or something. And I have to somehow cope with this situation. So probably I'm relieved now. So that's the idea of letting go of this plan or a concept. Because a plan or a concept is just this, a plan or a concept. It's not the real thing. Be here, right now. And then see what's going to happen and work with it. I have a few other ideas or principles of improv. But I think you don't want to be all that passive, right? Tanya, can you just and now we again start wrestling with our thumbs and trying to get them. Yeah. Okay, you won. So, but that's still too easy because there are other hands left. So this is what we're going to do now, and I would like you to make these notes, make sure that everyone is somehow connected in this room, and that every thumb or every hand is somehow involved. And go wrestling!
So it depends how you say. Did you say, do you want to hear a story? Or did you, hey, do you want to hear? Maybe yes.
Okay, let's try the yes version. Do you want to hear a story about a princess?
Yeah, okay.
Yes? Story about a princess? Yes? Okay, so it's a beautiful princess in a beautiful castle. And there's a prince coming because he knows that princess is living all alone.
Yeah.
And he's entering the court on a beautiful horse. Yeah. It helps to get this yes, actually. Otherwise, I stop pausing after every second. And the princess is getting out of her castle and seeing the prince. And she's looking at the prince, and the prince, of course, very beautiful.
Of course.
No, but no. princess, of course, a lot into horse riding, because this is what princes do. So she enters a horse and rides away. So the real thing what I wanted to show you is, if you say yes, things get on further. If you said sort of no, it's sort of blocking everything. And that's why yes is a very important principle in improv. So I would like to have a few volunteers. And don't worry, it will not hurt, it will be easy. It's nothing really. So, one, yeah, join us, yeah, fine. Or, yeah, fine, okay, one would be great. And now we need a name for a kind of object, sort of kind of fantasy name for an object, something that's not yet existing.
Throbble.
Throbble. Oh, okay, maybe throbble. That's great. Because this is now the inventor of the throbble. We don't know what this throbble is and what we will see in a few minutes. And the way we're doing it is that these four represent one person, the inventor, the one inventor of the throbble. Now, I would ask this inventor some questions, and you answer just one word at a time. One word, one word, one word, one word. We start again here. Okay? So just one word at a time. Try to build sentences that make somehow sense. Somehow is okay. Doesn't have to be perfect. Somehow sense is okay. Okay. So then we will start. So, dear audience, I'm very, very pleased that today we have Dr. Fabulous here. Dr. Fabulous just invented the throbble. Now, Dr. Fabulous, tell us, please, how did you come to the idea of inventing the throbble?
Oh.
That is a
Really?
very interesting observation.
I
Invented
The
throw.
while
I
was needy
at
one
morning to
finish
my
last nightmare.
that
was
Definitely horrible.
But how led this to the throbble?
well
Trouble really
helped
me
through the
nightmare
helped
the
brain
to
open definitively
new
areas
and continue
forgetting
the
nightmare process.
process.
Okay, so it relates to the brain, so it makes the brain forget the nightmare, which is a great idea. I mean, so, but how is it actually working?
I
Invented
A creative
way
to To
develop contra
Productive.
waves
monitoring the
Areas.
at
the brain
That.
makes.
the nightmares.
Wow. I guess this is probably a very expensive invention. Or how much does this actually cost?
Not.
Much.
But how much?
Actually,
I.
studying
Way.
To
get free
Thralls.
for
everybody.
Wow, this is of course very, very great that you have invented such a great thing and it's then free. One last question from the audience to the inventor.
Why are you speaking so slowly?
So these pictures are from the beginning, not really, but some of them are quite old. And I started to make pictures in the Theremin, das ist Centro Nacional de Investigaciones Metalúrgicas in Madrid, where I was making the doctoral thesis. Because they put some things outside to be disposed. And I found very interesting how these surfaces change. So I started to make pictures, and this is accompanying myself since more than 20 years. So every time where I'm anywhere, I'm making pictures, and most of them I'm making the normal pictures, but then there are some kind of like this. I give the name of this small exposition instant exposure because it's really an instant. Their surfaces changed. Some of the things that I pictured exist no more because they use smelled, gone, destroyed. So I think it's very interesting to get a vision of this point. And I like the colors, I like the structures, and I will be very happy if at the end of the half hour that we have, maybe you come to me and give me some kind of feedback. How these pictures speak with you? What do you see at the pictures, and if you like them or not? That will be my interactive part, and of course you can take a coffee and you don't need to wait until the half hour is over, but I would be very happy to hear your feedback about the pictures. And if somebody said, I'm in love with one of them, I can sell them too. So I have sold some of them. I make only 5 copies and no more. So you get a numbered copy of the picture, and that's then, if I sold 5, then I will not sold it anymore. Okay, please go ahead, come inside, have a look, and give me your feedback.
Well, my background is psychology, so what I'm going to try to tell you during this time is a scientific approach from psychological sciences. completely, coming from the experimental psychology, cognitive neuroscience, and experimental psychology, okay? So what we are going to see is, well, firstly, we need a question for our research. So when they said it is of course a question for our research, is actually one of the examples of feelings related to emotion. And emotion is one of the very big topics in psychological research, okay? So if we go to Duende, we go to feelings. If we go to feelings, we go to emotions. And this is the way of approaching a question like, okay, how do we feel? And then, how can we measure how do we feel? So the second thing, we will see summarize of the experiments. I have not so many data, but some understandable sentences about it. And in the end, I will try to approach, okay, which is the contribution from the side of the science to the side of the arts. Well, when we plan to do our research in psychology, the fathers of psychology, some of them you can see there, approach from many different points of view. We have the famous, very famous point of view, which is the pointer, the green one? Okay, perfect. So we have the very famous Sigmund Freud theories about how the consciousness is working. Of course, emotion can be felt because of the consciousness of this sensation. But William James, this guy here, it was one of the first that approached this kind of questions in the 19th century from the point of view of neurophysiology. So he measured different response of the body, but with markers coming from biology, for example, heart rate or conductancy of the skin. On the other hand, later we have the very famous dog of Pavlov and all the school of Russians that also try to understand what's happening in the head, that started being called black box, and then we know that it's not a black box, that comes from the stimulus and answers and bring them to thoughts. Okay? Later, Antonio Damaso and recently Oliver Sacks that leave us just a couple of months ago, really approach nowadays from the cognitive neuroscience questions like emotions. So as you can see, there's a big background in questions like are related to emotion. But well, when Emilio and me, my supervisor, decided to think about, okay, what do we do for your thesis, Lipira? What can we do? Then only questions regarding the mental workload or some expressions has been addressed by now with this kind of techniques. But what else? Well, I came from the action motor study inside experimental psychology. So my expertise is, okay, how the brain works to make actions. And what we know until now is that, well, when an expert brain sees actions that already knows, there is a very big network, very powerful network that works always, okay? Well, if we came from this very well-known brain activity for the experts, and we have the thermography like a physiological measurement, well, maybe we can try to test a really psychological thing like emotion? Yes, let's go. So, which kind of emotion do we want to test? Well, maybe we can try to follow one of our favorite scientists, that is Ramachandran. He's an Indian scientist already working in the USA, and he has explored very big all the Indian culture from the point of view of the neuroscience. And, well, let's make question like him. Let's think about a very Spanish, very Andalusian feeling, the Duende of Flamenco. Here you have some nice descriptions of what's
And thanks to every one of you for being here at Friday afternoon. We have been working the whole week. Everyone wants to go home, sit in front of the TV, or have a beer with the friends. But I hope you are enjoying in here, and I hope we can see you next year in the next CERFA conference. I want to tell you a secret. And there are a lot of scientists here, so I hope they agree with me. If you don't agree, but normally scientists like challenges. And the challenge of today was to convince you all that science and art are friends. They are not enemies. They are related to each other. We have seen a lot of examples. I have a few more. And I want to tell you that these that you see here, these beautiful buildings, are not possible without all this work before. That this beautiful painting, and we have seen a lot of work in this direction, is not possible to be performed without the choice of the right pigments, and that has a lot of chemistry behind it, so a lot of science. And that this one here, okay, this one maybe it would have been possible to do without this and this, but I found them that they were really cool and I wanted to show them, so there you go. But today I'm here to talk about nano art. Have you ever listened to this word before? Can you say, hey, I have listened to this before? So not a lot of hands, a couple of them. Good. Nano art is a word, and it's composed of two words. We are in Germany, so we know that combination of words is quite... One of them is nano, the other is art. And everyone more or less knows what is art. If I ask what it is, it gets a little more complicated. Because it can be beautiful for some, it can be not beautiful for some. But anyways, I'm a scientist, and I find that to define nano is much easier. And nano comes from Greek and means dwarf. If we come to this table where we have different prefixes, we have, for instance, kilo. This is a prefix that we use normally in our lives. For example, if we choose the unit of length, we have kilometer, that means kilo, 1,000 meters. We have milli. Milli means that 1 meter we divide in 1,000 times, and one of these 1,000 times would be 1 millimeter. If we take one of these millimeters and we divide again in 1,000 times, then we have 1 micrometer. And if we take this micrometer and we divide again in 1,000 times, then we will have 1 nanometer. This is a little complicated to imagine, to say, yeah, 1 nanometer is 0,00000000001 meters. So I got this example here. If we imagine the size of an apple in comparison with the size of the Earth, this nanometer will see the apple like the Earth. And just to show something that we know and we can relate how small we are, we know that a baseball ball would be around 7 centimeters. Then we have a needle, then we have an air. The air would be about 1 nanometer. And the materials or the objects that we will observe in the nanoscale will be more or less in this regime. Why we do nanomaterials is the topic of a whole talk, so I will not talk about it right now. What I can say is that this is really interesting from the scientific point of view, because these materials, when we go in this small scale, are showing different properties. This is, for instance, that if we have a cat, everyone can imagine a cat, and we make it smaller, and smaller, and smaller, and smaller. It will be a point when this cat will not be a cat anymore. It will be a dog. And then it will make dog things. If you throw him a ball.
Then I can change the pitch by raising or lowering my arms. I can change the vowel with my mouth. So I change the vowel and it will change to this vowel. because smiling is always recognized as a wow. Don't make me laugh. And the last thing we included is that you can change the vibrato of the singing to put more emphasis into the singing. So I can go from nearly no vibrato to lots of vibrato with the rotation of my hand. And by this, my favorite kind of projects are the musical interfaces. That's where we come next, to the new interfaces we want to create for musical expression. And this is because nearly everybody likes music. So nearly everyone likes to listen to music, and we are actually really good at listening to music. We can from a really short snippet of a music, we can determine which song it is. So we are that good at singing, at listening. And because of that, you can get really good insight into other research departments when you combine them with the musical department. And what we were thinking about when we started making musical interfaces, what would it be like? It would be awesome if we had an instrument or interface that is touchless. So normally you're constrained to the strings of a guitar or to the keys of a piano, but we wanted to have something that's touchless and that can be controlled just by the gestures I'm doing. So I'm doing a bodily expression, completely free without any touch, and this bodily expression is then converted to an acoustic expression. And when we came up with the idea, we realized this had been developed about 18 years ago. It's called the Theremin, so it has already been there. And the Theremin is one of the early electronic musical instruments, and it's only controlled by your hands in midair. You don't touch the antennas. There are two antennas. You use your left hand for the volume, and you use your right hand for the pitch. And by this you can play, without touching anything, you can play music, because you change the magnetic potential of these antennas. And it was developed by Theremin. It's a Russian inventor, and it's just the American name of it. It can't stay the Russian name. And we'll just have a short look into one of his performances. So as you can see, he's using his left hand for the volume and the right hand for the pitch, but it's really, really hard to control the pitch. I'll just turn this off, it's too loud. And it's really, really hard to control the pitch with your right hand. So a small movement makes a big change in the tone. And so we thought, okay, when we design something like this, it should be a little bit easier to be controlled. And this is where we came from the Theremin to a project that we called Theremin. It's called Theremin because the person using this theremin actually is inside of a sphere, so he is standing in a dome. And this is where we had one of these spillover effects, where we could take some knowledge out of trying to do something with music, because we wanted to have a 360-degree possibility for the person to move, but we were in this dome. So we had to take several Kinect sensors and stitch them together so we can move in all directions and make music there. And when we had this, when this worked, we thought, hey, it would be awesome to make this two-player thing. So we built a small dome that's outside of the big dome, where people can touch the small dome and make background chords. So we have an egocentric and an exocentric user interface. We'll just have a look how this Theremin works and how it sounds. So this is a person, and the dome is now lowered down. See there. And every tone he plays makes a visual representative on the dome as well. This is where the second player plays outside of the dome. It's just projected onto the real sandbox, and if you change the sand in there, it flows around the sand, or around the real sand. And what we wanted to do as well was that we wanted to make interaction possible on your own skin, so on your hand. So you put your hand inside there, and you can control this interface. And this was something that was completely new to us as well, and it was pretty awesome. Let's just have a look in there. So you can see there from the left, there's these particles coming, and these orbs. Whenever a particle hits one of these orbs, it triggers a sound. And by this, you can control several sounds with this water flow. We've heard about fractals before. The Mandelbrot set was mentioned in the talk before. And this is a 3D fractal that is rendered in real time. So the interesting thing about fractals is that you can zoom in and they change and keep changing and changing. And it's just a really interesting sculpture. And we wanted to make this sculpture look like it's living. And what would be more living than yourself? So we took biosignals to trigger the sculpture, so the movement of the sculpture, and to trigger sound according to the movement. So this is one example for a fractal. This is another example of a fractal. It's more like tree-like, and if you zoom into this tree, it would look like something like this. And combined with biosignals, so the system detects the heartbeat, and once the system got the heartbeat, it triggers a sound synthesis according to the heartbeat, and you can move around the fractal to see it from every angle. So by putting the hand in front of you, it rotates the fractal. You can watch it from every angle. Okay, and now we come to the last project before I present the Caruso project. This is called Transition. We worked together with professional modern art dancers there, and we filmed them and did a body recognition of the dancers to make something in the background of the screen to make their shadow moving, so it looked like shadow. And we could make a really nice musical or dance performance there. And so the music triggered the dancers, and this is why it's here. So the music triggered the dancers, and by this, the visual effects at the back. It looked like this. Inspired by Paul when he was singing Nessun Dorma in front of a big audience for Britain's Got Talent. And we thought, wouldn't it be awesome if we could do this on a stage as well? But if I ask you, someone wants to come here and sing Nessun Dorma for the audience, I dare say no one would like to do that. So we thought, okay, how can we do this? What can we do to make this possible and to make it an enjoyable experience for the user and for the audience as well? And now we'll see if.